Hello everyone. This is the Modern English video for Unit 7. As you have noticed from the last several units, in the Modern English video we learn about language and ways to talk about the topic in modern times. The topic of this unit is technology, and technology is very modern, right? There are so many ways that we can talk about technology. We can talk about the technology itself, what it is, the future of it, and so on. In today's video, we're going to learn about a very important topic, which is how technology affects our lives. This is a very common topic of conversation nowadays. So in this video, you're going to learn some terms and language you can use to talk about how you think technology affects your life. First, let's take a look at this word affect. So here we can see the meaning of the word affect. It means what impact does technology have on our lives? So let's begin. What do you see in this picture? Here we see a satellite image of the Earth at night. We see this is over Europe, the Middle East, and Northern Africa. And what do you see in this picture? There are bright lights shining from cities, and the brighter the light, the more people that live there. This is not what the Earth would have looked like even a few hundred years ago, right? Let's go ahead and think about how technology has changed the world. What do you think? How has technology changed our lives and changed the world? We can think about tools. Remember in the first video, we watched a video in the unit about the development of human technology. We started off with rocks as tools. Later in human history, we developed the abacus for counting money, keeping track of business, and so on. And we've come all the way to smartphones today, which can do so many things. It's crazy to think about how technology has developed and changed our lives in such big, important ways. Today, let's learn how to talk about the positive and negative effects of technology in English. We're also going to learn how to share our opinions about these things. Before we get into how to talk about pros and cons and explain our opinion, let's take a look at some pre-lesson vocabulary. We're going to just look at 5 terms quickly that will help you understand this video and will help you talk about your opinions. So here are our words. Society, social media, culture, anxiety, and algorithm. Let's go ahead and take a look at what these words mean. Our first word is society. Are you familiar with this word? If not, let me go ahead and show you the definition. When we think about society, this is all the people living in the world. So today when we talk about society, we are not just talking about Korean society or Chinese society or Vietnamese society or American society. We're thinking about society as a whole, all the people in the world. So often we talk about how does technology affect society? This means all people. How does it affect us? So let's go on to our next word. Next, we have the word social media. Often I hear this term expressed as SNS, but in English we only refer to it as social media. So social media includes things like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, and so on. Anything where you are interacting with other people and sharing comments and ideas. YouTube can also be considered social media. How often do you use social media? Do you spend a lot of time on websites like Facebook and Instagram? Our third word today is culture. This may be a word you're familiar with, but let's go ahead and review. Culture is 문화. And what is a part of culture? Music, food, clothing, dance, style, language. So many things are a part of culture, aren't they? To the point where we even have the term cultural shock, 문화 충격, culture shock, where if you go to a culture that is very different from yours, you might feel some shock, culture shock, because maybe the customs, the language, the food is so different. So this is our next term today, culture. Number 4 is a word that is very useful to know and can help to describe our feeling about something. This word is anxiety. Anxiety. It almost sounds like a G in there. Anxiety. Anxiety. Anxiety is a feeling of worry and stress. The adjective form of this word would be anxious, which we will see later. So if you have anxiety about something, it means that you are feeling stressed, you're feeling really worried. Maybe when you're thinking about midterms or final exams or some big test like the TOEIC test, you might have some anxiety about it. The last word for our lesson today is algorithm. So we're going to talk about this for a moment. In Korean, the word for algorithm is algorithm, which looks to be about the same. Maybe this is Konglish, right? So let's talk about what an algorithm is. This is very important when talking about social media. So if you use social media, which I think all of us do, the algorithm is the technology that determines what we see on social media. For example, maybe I am very interested in camping, and so I go on YouTube and I type camping or camping videos, what to cook when camping, things like that. Because I typed in camping, now I will see many video suggestions for other camping videos. This is the algorithm. It collects our information and gives us different suggestions for what to see. So this is true on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, and so on. So we'll get into this in just a moment. To begin our conversation about technology, let's think about the pros and cons. Pros are the good things, and cons are the bad things. Let's begin by thinking about the pros and cons of modern technology. Please get a piece of paper and a pen and write this chart. Take a moment to write your thoughts about the pros and cons of modern technology. Okay? Now is your time to write down your thoughts about the pros and cons of technology. Okay, what did you come up with? Did you end up having more pros or more cons for talking about technology? Let's go ahead and look at some common topics for the pros and cons of technology. We'll begin by talking about the good things, of which there are so many. Technology really has changed our lives in some very big ways. So let's look at some pros of modern technology. The first pro that many people think of modern technology is we can connect with people all around the world. whether it is on social media or through more traditional media like television and news, movies, music, things like that. We can connect with people all over the world, especially on social media with sites like Twitter, where you can see how people are thinking and reacting to world events in real time. So this is a big pro, right? We can connect with people anywhere in the world almost. The next pro about connecting with people all around the world is we can share culture and ideas with people all around the world too. Just think of how nowadays, how popular Korean culture is becoming, even in the West, in places like America. More and more people are interested in things like K-pop and Korean food. And why is that? Because modern technology has helped us to connect and share our culture and ideas. This also helps people to better understand and maybe be more kind when talking to and thinking about people from different cultures, which is a huge positive, right? The more we can connect and share our ideas, the easier it is for us to talk to each other and understand what we have in common and what our differences are. Let's look at our next pro. Oh, this is a big one. Technology has made our lives easier, more comfortable, and more convenient. Whether we are talking about transportation like cars, buses, airplanes, and subways, or talking about electricity, the internet, medical technology, medicine, and things like that. Technology has made our lives much easier and more comfortable. Even thinking about farming and factories, things like that, it is so much easier to do things nowadays. You can go on Yogyo or Beidao, an app, and just have food delivered right to you. You can use Kakao Taxi and have someone come pick you up. Technology has definitely made our lives much more convenient. Another pro is that technology has helped us have longer lives. People did not used to live as long as they do today. Because of technology, especially in medicine and thinking about like hospital technology, because these things have improved, our lives have gotten longer as well. We also don't necessarily have to work so hard. We can have a bit more of a relaxed life than someone a couple hundred years ago, so we can live longer too. It's pretty great. And finally, technology can bring us joy. It can help us have fun and relieve stress and feel more relaxed. If you've ever played a phone game or enjoyed watching Netflix or listening to music on YouTube, you know that technology can really add a lot of joy and happiness to our lives. So what do you think? What are some other pros of technology, and what did you come up with? Next, let's go ahead and look at the cons or negative things about technology. All right, now let's think about the negative things about modern technology. Let's take a look at the cons. What did you come up with? What do you think are some of the negative or bad effects of technology? Let's talk about some of the most common conversation topics about negative things about technology. And we'll see some helpful terms in here as well to help you in English conversation. The number one negative thing about technology today has to do with social media. Social media can have a negative effect on people, especially young people. First, it can cause lower self-esteem. This is partly due to editing, right? Like in this picture, this is the same person, and we see it's Instagram versus reality. So we can see her neck looks longer, her face looks thinner, her lips look bigger, and her eyes look bigger, and so on. People might, especially kids, might see pictures on social media and not understand that they are not real, right? So it could give them low self-esteem. Cyberbullying is another negative effect of social media and technology, which can also lead to self-harm in serious cases. So even though social media has the positive of bringing us together and connecting us, we can also see some really hurtful things on the internet, right? Another negative is that technology can make us feel less connected and can give us anxiety. So whether this is social media or general media, maybe we look around and feel the expectation is very high for our appearance and so on. So this can make us feel less connected and give us anxiety. If you have ever been out with your friends and you're all chatting and then suddenly everyone is just on their phone and you look up, oh, what are we doing? So does this help us be more connected or less connected? What do you think? Maybe a little of both. Another negative of technology in general is many technologies are bad for the environment. Just think about pollution, for example, or factories and how we produce things like cars and televisions and cell phones. A lot of those things are bad for the environment, and so they're bad for us too, right? Bad for our health. Finally, the algorithm, remember that word, can lead to echo chambers. So what this means is that when you look at certain things on social media, you get suggestions to see more of the same opinion, same thinking, same everything. And this can lead to people not seeing other ideas, not seeing other opinions. And this is causing problems in the world today. Maybe if your parents have social media, their social media looks very different than yours, right? Or someone else's YouTube suggestions might look very different. So this is a problem too. So what do you think? Is technology more of a good thing or more of a bad thing? There's a lot to consider, so let's continue to think about it. Okay. Now that we have thought about and learned some useful terms and common conversation topics for the pros and cons of technology, let's go into your book. So we're going to look at an article on page 89. We're going to read it together and look at some of the interesting and useful language in this article. Let's begin by looking at these two pictures. What do we see in these pictures? In the first picture, we see a teacher using chalk and a chalkboard. This is how teachers taught for a long time, right? This is very simple, and this technology has been around for a long time. Nowadays, though, we might see more of what you see in picture number 2. There we see someone using a smartboard and some modern classroom technology. So we're going to read this article, and it's going to look at technology changes and also some different ways to share our opinions. Let's go ahead and read this article together and find the useful language in it. Okay, let's begin with the first paragraph. So this is about school technology. Let's read this together. Teaching has changed a lot. For instance, in the past, teachers used blackboards and children wrote everything with pen and paper. What's more, the only technology in classrooms was a TV or perhaps a cassette player. Okay, so what's being talked about in this paragraph? Here we see our topic sentence. teaching has changed a lot. We see what technology was like in the past, right? Teachers used blackboards and pen and paper are what people wrote with. And we also see that the only technology in classrooms was a TV or a cassette player. A cassette is a tape, right? If you've ever used one of those before. We see some useful terms in this paragraph, like for instance, and what's more. For instance is a term we can use to share an example about something. So here we see our topic sentence, teaching has changed a lot. And then we have an example. For instance, in the past, da da da. What's more is a term we can use to add more information. So here we gave an example, and then we wanted to add some more information, so we included what's more. So in this paragraph, we're looking at the past, right? We're starting by thinking about what technology was like in classrooms. Let's look at our second paragraph. Please listen to paragraph number 2. Today, in contrast, teachers use lots of technology. For example, most classrooms have Wi-Fi. In addition, teachers use interactive whiteboards and children use tablets to do exercises or play games. With technology such as video chat, classes can work with children in another country. All this makes learning easier and more fun. Okay, so what are we talking about in this second paragraph? In the first paragraph, we talked about the past, or kind of the old way of learning in a classroom, old technology. Here, we're talking about today, how teachers use lots of technology in the classroom. We have an excellent term here, in contrast. In contrast means it is totally different than what it was before. So in the past, there was little or no technology. But in contrast, today there's a lot of technology in the classroom. And we see some examples: Wi-Fi, interactive whiteboards, tablets, and video chat. We can see some more useful ways to add examples and add more information. Another way we can start off a sentence where we want to include an example is, for example. We can also use the term such as. These are two more ways. So we saw for instance, now we have for example and such as. These are ways we can add examples. In addition is the second way we can add more information to something. So last we saw what's more, and here we have in addition. This is when maybe we have given an example or said our opinion, and now we want to add a little more. Last we see a sentence that's great for talking about our opinion. All this makes learning easier and more fun. So what do you think? Is this a fact or an opinion? This is definitely an opinion. And we use some comparative adjectives like easier and more fun to express our thoughts. Let's look at our final paragraph. Okay, let's look at our last paragraph. Some people think that robots might teach children one day. However, I don't think that will happen. Teachers help us learn things, but they take care of us too. Robots can't do that. The technology may change over time, but the best teachers will always be real people. All right, so in the first paragraph, we looked at past classroom technologies. In the second paragraph, we looked at current or present technologies. And here we see the opinion of the person who wrote the article. There are some very helpful ways to express opinions in this paragraph. Let's begin with our first example. Some people think, mo mo mo. However, I think or I don't think, mo mo mo. This is a great way to share your example or your opinion. Some people think that robots might teach children. However, I don't think that. Some people think that technology is not good. However, I think it is good. So we'll come back to this. This is a great way to express our opinion. Finally, in our last sentence, we see the technology may change, but da da da. So this is great when talking about technology and sharing our opinions. Something may change, but I think the best teachers will always be real people. Let's go ahead and put this all together. Before we put this all together in our own writing, let's go ahead and review our useful language. So from that article, we saw some useful language for giving examples. Do you remember what they were? For instance, for example, and such as. These are all terms we can use before we give an example for something. What about adding more information? Here we can use what's more or in addition. These are excellent to use, especially when giving examples of technology or when sharing our opinion. And let's review the terms we can use from this for sharing our opinion. Some people think that mo mo mo. However, I think or I don't think mo mo mo. This is when you think something different than what other people think. Next we have this makes something, and then using our comparative adjective. So we saw this makes classes more fun, easier and more fun. So you can use this to talk about your opinion about any technology. If I were talking about, for example, the classroom technology of interactive whiteboards, I could say this makes teaching easier, or this makes teaching more interesting and interactive. Last we have blank may change, but. So technology changes things, right? So this is how we can say something, this technology may change our classes or our lives, but, and then your opinion. Okay, now let's talk about your assignment. Okay, today we have talked about a lot. We've talked about the pros and cons of all technology, looked at an example of how technology has developed in the classroom, and seen some ways to share our opinion about that. So let's put it all together. This is your assignment, which you'll see in the discussion section. Please choose a technology, any technology that exists today. Write a discussion post explaining how the technology has developed, right? What's the past? What was it like in the past? What is it like now? And share your opinion about the pros and cons of this technology. What do you think of it? All right, everyone. Check. We're all done with our Modern English video. Please make sure to check eClass for assignments, and I will see you next time. I can't wait to hear about your technology opinions. Bye-bye.